Hello, and thank you for watching Ask Ron, where Ron answers our Closer Club members' questions each and every week. My name is Adel, and I have Ron here today answering their questions. Obviously, how are you doing today, Ron?
I'm doing great. I think you probably ought to tell them what the Closers Club means. And it means we replaced the Gold Club with a Closers Club. So we also went from your $99 a month to $59 a month. So if that bothers you, you can send Adel and I the other 40 and we'll find something to do with it. So honestly, you're gonna exactly the same benefits, and pretty soon we're even gonna increase those. So glad you're a member. All right, what questions we have today?
All right, first one from Tony and Angie. When using the ACE strategy and assigning a deal, how do you ensure the seller is protected once you're no longer involved in the transaction?
Okay, thank you, Tony and Angie. We like hearing from you every single week. Well, if I'm lease optioning it from the seller, you know, that's the short agreement in your boot camp manual. And then if I put a tenant buyer in it, that's the longer agreement in your manual, both of which protect and if I'm buying from the seller, it protects you. If I'm lease optioning it to a tenant buyer, it protects you. And so when I do get out of it on an ACE deal, I just assign the long form agreement that I have with a tenant buyer to the seller. Seller takes over, starts collecting payments, and I'm out of the deal. That's after I put the tenant buyer in there and after I get their non-refundable deposit, which I keep, which is really all I get out of the deal. And that's also assuming that the seller is okay with them collecting the money directly from the tenant buyer and taking control of it. And so far, they've all been okay with it. It's fine with them. And then I have a release agreement from both parties that we get out, which is in your boot camp manual as well. So I'm protecting, if I were to stay in, I'm protecting me. If I assign the contract to my seller, then it protects the seller. It's the same agreement.
All right, Maria in Florida. Ron, I found a seller who wants to sell but owes more than the house is worth. Can I still do a deal here, or should I just move on?
You can do a deal there, but I'd have to see the rest of the numbers to answer that question correctly. You ask yourself, well, what's in it for me if I do the deal? Do I have a good monthly cash flow at the very least? Obviously, you don't have any equity in it. So if there's not any equity in it, just how much can I collect on a non-refundable deposit? And that's going to depend on the quality of the house and the quality of the neighborhood. And then also your payment. Is my payment high enough to where I can get a monthly spread? If not, then you better just move on, because you don't want to buy the house unless you can see how you're going to get paid. Now, don't forget about all those other goodies, the appreciation, the depreciation, the debt pay down. You're not going to get a giant monthly deposit. By the way, you can, even though it's owed more than it's worth, you can still raise it a little bit and get a $10,000, $15,000 deposit out of it. That's the way we did it back in 2009 when we invented this ACE thing. And for those of you who don't know, that's ACTS. That stands for Assignment of Contracts and Terms System. So again, I'd have to see the rest of the numbers. If you want to resubmit the rest of the numbers, we can answer it for you right away. And you don't have to wait till next week. You can do that on ask@ronlegrand.com and show me the numbers. I'll fire you right back an answer.
All right, Lisa from Georgia. How do I find out if there are any liens on a property before I agree to take over someone's payments?
Okay, well, if you've got Dreams Pro, which is our system, you can go on there, if I'm not mistaken, Adel, and find out what liens are on the property.
It'll at least say that. It'll at least trigger you to look. It'll say there's some liens, yeah.
But of course, you don't want to close without having a title company do a title search, which is the real answer. But you can just look up, very quickly determine whether they have any or not. Best you can find out. But don't close it. Don't give up any money. Don't even pay closing costs on the terms deal, unless, of course, the title company at least checks the title, does a title search, and verifies to you that there's no liens on it.
All right, Stephanie from Indiana. When I make an offer, the seller always wants to think about it. How long do I give them before I follow up, and what do I even say when I call them back?
Well, the first thing that I would ask them is what is it that you need to think about? Did you have questions that I didn't answer for you? Are you thinking about whether you want to sell the property? Or are you thinking about whether you can accept our offer here? What is it? Let's discuss it now, because there really isn't anything to think about. You kind of either want to sell or you don't want to sell. You told me when I made the appointment that you're ready to sell, so let's talk it out now. And then if that don't do the job, you can consider this deal dead. Okay, because all that is mean I'm tired of you, get out of my house. I don't want to be rude, but go away. That's what that means. Now, of course, you got to follow up on it because that's not always going to be the case. So when you call them back, okay, have you thought about it yet? We ready to go or no go? That's all there is to it. And don't take any crap off of them. Don't be rude. Don't be belligerent. Just keep on following up with them. Now, when you call them back, if they haven't sold the house yet, you better make sure you put it in your Dream system. I hope you got Dreams Pro, and set 5 different hits in there for emails. It'll also tell you when to pop up and tell you when you ought to call them back again. And frankly, you ought to keep checking back with them until they've told you that they've sold the property, because all sellers' minds change with time and circumstances. And Adel, who's behind this camera, will tell you that many of the deals that we do are from that follow-up several months later sometimes.
Yep. All right, Chris from Missouri. Is it okay to do deals in a state I do not live in, or do I need to stick to my own backyard when I'm just starting out?
Yes. You should stick to your own backyard when you're just starting out, but it don't make any difference what state you do them in. There's nothing prohibiting you from buying houses in 50 states.
That's all our questions today.
All right, if that's all. Guys, I just did a webinar, I guess, called How We Make Money, and it really came out great, and I answered a lot of great questions at the end of it. So you might want to go down and check it out and get your link to it so you can watch it. Really, we went to the ugly house business, the wholesaling thing, the terms thing, the whole thing. For you that are relatively new, you're going to want to see this to see why you are even interested in buying and selling houses. So I showed you where the money is. Go check it out. And thank you for being a member. Got a lot of cool things coming for you, so stay tuned. And you're going to get some emails from us pretty soon about some really new stuff we're adding to the whole business here. Everything you need is right here. You don't need to go out and get any other services. It's all right here. You just got to learn what we got. And then the biggest part, of course, is you start implementing it. Training first, that's Quick Start School. Then implementation, that's our systems. And then systemization. Well, implementation and systemization kind of go hand in hand. Well, once you get to that point, you're at the point where there's very little for you to do. And now you've got a business that doesn't require your time every day, day in and day out. All right, I'll see you next week. Get your questions ready.